and welcome to our third episode of Tech Talks, the podcast where we delve into the transformative power of technology and education. I'm your host, Dr. Shuneela Joy Chauhan, Vice President Strategy at Omotech. Our topic today is empowering educators to lead in tech-driven classrooms. Joining me is none other than Dr. Sabina Keshwani, the principal of SVPV School and a visionary leader in education. With extensive experience as an education officer and cluster principal, she has successfully managed 17 schools, driving academic and administrative excellence. She is also a dedicated teacher, trainer, motivational speaker, and a volunteer with the Aga Khan Development Network, uplifting underprivileged communities through quality educational interventions. Her commitment to innovation and empowerment makes her the ideal guest for today's discussion. Welcome, Dr. Sabina.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Joy. It's a privilege to be here with you. And I would like to thank Omotech for giving me this wonderful opportunity. And I'm looking forward to this show and excited to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. And we are really looking forward to having this really enlightening discussion with someone like you. Yes. So let's start with the big picture. As school leaders, how can you create a clear vision and strategy for integrating AI, robotics, and coding into everyday teaching practices? Having been a teacher trainer, also you train your teachers. So what are some actionable first steps schools can take?
Very wonderful question. Actually, always I reflect, whenever like this kind of opportunity comes up after this new education policy and this national curriculum framework, it is very, very important that we incorporate AI, coding and robotics in our curriculum. Now to actually the first step, if you see, I feel that we need to inform our stakeholders, our parents, our educators, our student community, our management. If we have a shared vision, then certainly we can share the benefits of that, how it can, give us a long-term vision and a long-term benefit if we incorporate this in our curriculum. Secondly, I feel that, to initiate, and we have, many apprehensions when we begin this. So how to incorporate in a regular day curriculum, right? Generally, the educators, they always actually juggle to complete the curriculum. So if we incorporate AI, if we incorporate coding, how we will complete our curriculum, that question comes next. Certainly we need to guide them, mentor them, that how it will help us in the long run. By maybe we can initiate with a pilot run of one particular grade. We can start with, coding in the grade 1. Like if you look into the National Curriculum Framework and National Education Policy 2020, it clearly talks about that we need to incorporate coding right from grade 6 onwards. Yes. But if we begin from grade 1 also at a nursery or at a baby level also, we have couple of games, couple of apps which we can share with the parents, share with the educators, and we can initiate with that to come to know how it benefits. And at that point of time, it may not be any investment because there are a couple of tools and couple of apps which are available which are quite free. So coding at the level of reading, coding at the level of understanding the vocabulary, and how they can, with the books, not even the screen, with the books, how can they actually imbibe the coding skills? So that we can initiate right at the foundational stage. And then looking at the benefit of grade 1 and grade 2, we can certainly pilot in grade 6 coding. We can start with the Minecraft games, we can start with the Scratch games, so that they try to make the apps, and they try to understand the algorithms of that particular app, and then they enjoy playing the games on that. So that is another way, the parents also get the feedback. Then we discuss as a team, and we can share this with our educators, with our team members. And once they get the benefit of it, and once they enjoy and they feel happy about it, parents also are quite willing to, go ahead with this. And even as a school, we can take a call later on to introduce more grades, and phase-wise we can introduce other grades too. Certainly in the grade 1 to grade 10 or grade 12, if we see the curriculum differs. So maybe we can start with the coding at the foundational stage, then we can move towards the machine learning, then we can move towards, robotics, and then we can also implement how the drone can be, that really fascinates kids when they look at the drones. And nowadays, if they go for any function also, they see the drones. So then they
Right.
actually make that kind of, activity which they do, and they are doing the hands-on skills that gets them, very joyful way. They understand the conceptual skills of the academics. So it also covers the curriculum mapping. So if we plan accordingly, if we execute accordingly, then certainly this becomes very, very important. And at the same time, we need to groom our teachers, also groom our educators, professional development courses, and sometimes it is online courses which are quite free available. Certain apps are there which can guide them. Also, at the same time, if we can have a school professional development center where every week the educator comes in from different schools and they mentor and they guide educators. So similarly, this can be a guidance to them, and that is the way they understand the juxtapose of it, that how actually it gels with the curriculum. So it becomes easier to implement this methodology which weaves into it technology come the academics. So that becomes much, much easier. That are the steps I feel we should take.
I just enjoyed listening to you, and I'm sure everyone who's going to hear this podcast will be so happy that they can get all these steps outlined for them so beautifully, right from starting with informing all these stakeholders, then when you took it down to explaining it to parents, and then to the professional development of teachers, having professional kind of a center where you have the perspective of other educators, and not to forget the children, right from the nursery and the early years, right through gamification, how small coding steps can be taught and which can be taken ahead. So really thank you for outlining it so meticulously. So that takes us to the next question. What are the biggest challenges schools face when adopting a technology-driven teaching practice? So, when you have a technology-driven teaching practice, you have so many kinds of teachers. So what are the challenges that you think they can face? And how can leaders, effectively address these challenges? I'm sure you have already done that. So coming from you, it will be a great takeaway.
This brings me to that pandemic. All of a sudden, teachers had to switch learning. So that's okay, and that's very natural, because we are not kind of a citizen of digital literacy at present, and the younger generation which is coming up, they are actually the netizens and they are the citizens of this particular literacy. But if you really give them that kind of support system, certainly, they really pick up. But another constraint which comes up is the budget. Again, you have to budget the activities, and again, how you are going to budget, because if you are incorporating the entire AI, coding, robotics, and all of a sudden you can't increase the fees also. So how you can incorporate, in such a way so that gradually it becomes, easier for the parents also to shell out the money. Also for the educators also, it becomes easier to explain the parents to all the stakeholders. And with the support of all the teachers who are little hesitant or little apprehensive about this kind of STEM learning or operation of maybe, like any kind of app. For example, we used to operate Kahoot and Padlet and all that activities which we used to do to assess the children. So they were very hesitant. They said, only with the Kahoot, how can we assess the kids, So I said, see, this is the way where you can, certainly with the Google Docs and all that, you can also go for the detailed answers too. But at the same time, if you want to utilize the Padlet and the Kahoot, the students will enjoy that in that online learning, and gradually you can move towards, like Zoom documents or Google Docs or Google Cloud. And that is the way you can also get the thorough understanding whether the child has learnt or not. So two things were the major. One was, like the initial hesitancy, which actually was now later on, if you see those teachers who are hesitant,
yes,
now they are the masters of that. And now they are really enjoying it. So every time, the first step is the giant step always. So certainly, like to move and to switch towards, you are always in the comfort zone. So when you want to move into the courage zone, it takes time. But if you give them that time, if you give them that hand-holding, if you motivate them, if you inspire them, if you show them the results. Apart from that, if you show them the multidisciplinary learning and that how, for example, if you're looking at a table. So table is, like a rectangle table. So you can see the mathematical also here. At the same time, you see the designing creativity also you can see. At the same time, you can see the engineering part also of it. So a table, if you see, full-fledged table, there are so many subjects gone into it. The mathematical concepts are there. The design art concept is there because it is designed. It is being it's a full thought process. So that is the way in the class. If you are explaining, you are saving on the curriculum time also. Because if you are properly planned in the curriculum mapping, you will not have that extra time to devote to such kind of subjects. It will be weaved and it will be interdisciplinary in your curriculum. So pedagogy becomes much more easier. So as and when you start taking in, you jump into it. Initially, you have the hiccups and the problems, but gradually, like we have started with the IFP boards.
Yes.
People were trained into star boards, but the touch board, and how to operate that. So teachers were little worried how to operate that. But once now they are used to it, I can see in the classroom, they are really master of it now. Sometimes I wonder because I take limited classes, but I really learned from the educators that how to operate and how to utilize in a maximum way such kind of the electronic devices, the other what we are thinking about, the STEM curriculum. So that is the way. If we try to look into it and with the hand holding, I think that becomes easier. But all these hiccups which comes in the beginning, it's a hiccups right in your mind. If you look from the growth mindset, if you look from that resilience, that okay, once if I fail, that doesn't mean I need to stop, then I think it works out very well.
Yes, absolutely.
So budget,
so you talked so much about teachers training, because that of course is the backbone of getting anything done, along with of course as you talked about the budget things and all. But the training of teachers has been at the forefront of everything, right from the pandemic time to time immemorial. So could you share some examples of some successful training models or strategies which have worked really well for you, or which you could advise to all the people who are going to be watching your podcast?
Dr. Joy, actually in our school we have a PDC, Professional Development Center. So where like all educators, it's a mandatory for them. Every 3 months they have to complete the modules. Mental health being again. Subject trainings are also there because as per the CBSE norm, the teacher needs to have that subject specific training too. Though they are postgraduate in that subject, but still they require the continuous training. Continuous and a consistent training is happening in the school.
Right.
But training is actually, it's a mandatory, I guess. However, qualification, how much qualification you carry on. If you are not into training, and if you are laid back for the training, then again, you are being marginalized. So continuously, you have to be on that training mode. And in our school, we have these modules, as well as we have face-to-face training with through virtual classrooms.
Yes.
Also, we have the sister concerns across. So we also cross-fertilize the sharing and the learning. So a teacher is a science teacher is taking an upgradation for all the teachers, because I may not know science. Maybe the mathematics teacher may not know science. So just to ensure that everyone knows the content part, what we are teaching, to get the alignment and to build up the theory of knowledge, so that how the mathematics teacher can connect with science.
Right.
But I'm actually, for example, you are showing the motor car. So in the 8th grade, then you are talking about the mechanical learning. So you are talking about the wheels, how the wheels, so the diameter of the wheel, the radius of the wheel, so you connect with the mathematics. Look at the combination and look at the electronic part, the designing part of the car. Look at the seating arrangement inside. How much is the depth? How much is the area covered? So all that, it's so much correlated. So when the teacher sits for such kind of updates and upgradation, you get the connectivity. And that also builds and generates a lot of interest and enthusiasm. So it's not kind of, you are just not giving the mechanical intervention. You are giving from the heart. So sometimes when the teacher is doing just to complete the curriculum, at times it becomes emotionally colorless, irrationally rigid. But with such kind of trainings, and our trustees are very, very keen on teachers training.
Okay.
So as soon as, this kind of the concept of this AI and robotics and coding in our state board schools is right from, I think 2018 they've implemented. Now this is the new school CBSE. So this was the first year. So they said it will be a little difficult, but we have already started the STEM curriculum. Completely weaving into the curriculum AI, robotics, coding, we will initiate from the next year. So the teacher training is a must. Secondly, we need to ensure that after the training, some kind of assessment happens. So once the training is happening, we also take the assessment of all the educators. They have to clear that assessment.
Okay.
Sometimes
so
it is
have to listen to it.
Yes. So at times, you give them kind of blended learning where sometimes they have to do from home. Sometimes they have to watch the video and they have to write down. So they are saying that we trust the educators, but just to bring the cosmopolitan ethics in picture. So we also ensure that, they give a paper, they give some kind of assessment. So it is satisfying for them also that they have appeared for some assessment. Also, it is kind of, like for the school also that they have done that work. And that is the way, then they actually sit, discuss where we faltered, and then they try to groom themselves. So which is a kind of a very positively and a very healthy way it's taken up.
Absolutely. So I just, really like the point that you brought about that, each one has to know what the other is doing. So some knowledge is required, and that can only happen, as you rightly said, with the collaboration, sitting together for a training, understanding, and the initiatives taken by your school are indeed, something like a trendsetter, because they're making sure that people of different subjects are so multidisciplinary. And yes, so definitely even the integration of your STEM in your classes is the first.
I would also like to add, together collective learning, they get the projects. Teachers, they get the projects. They get the projects, and then they share the projects, amongst the educators. So we have dedicated every fortnight, Saturdays, 3 hours for this kind of discussions. So whatever books they've read, whatever, academic content they've read. So 1 hour it's an academic content, 1 hour it's a micro teaching going on, 1 hour it's a kind of related the subject. So maybe I may not know much about mathematics, I may not know much about psychology, but that particular teacher will do this, and then she will say, and at the same time, the other educators will relate to that project, So that becomes a kind of a very practical based approach, which we can apply and implement with our learners, So that gives a lovely outcome.
Absolutely. In fact, I was going to ask you a question. Then my next question was going to be that how can a leader align STEM, robotics and AI? But I think that you have more than enough. You have given me such lovely examples of how you are actually doing it as a leader. So anything that you want to add to this, like as a, as a school leader, the school head, how, in short, if you can just tell me anything that, which you really do personally, which you feel really has worked very well for you and your team?
So I feel like, with this robotics and this AI and this virtual learning and this VR technique and augmented reality and all that, it shows the career path of the future, So if you see many careers, if you are giving that practical approach in a school at this age of, right from grade 1, and then you actually go ahead with machine learning and robotics in grade 6 onwards with the higher grades, making drone and making this project, and you do a tech show in the school and you attend the IIT tech shows, which they actually invite school students to actually demonstrate their project. So that gives them a lot of weightage and a lot of credibility. And sometimes, you attend this kind of shows at IITians and you have in your mind a dream that I also want to go to IIT, I also want to become, computer engineer, I also want to become a data science expert, I also want to become a machine learning expert. So all that kind of future career and the future career path lies currently in this technology. Absolutely. Every day you see some or the other app, some or the other, like I remember I have learned Photoshop and CorelDRAW a long time back. It was a struggle for me to learn. I completed the course. Today it is of no use because it's all ready-made on platter. So you certainly, whatever you have learned is an investment, but all this kind of, this STEM learning, we incorporate in the curriculum right from the beginning, right from the tender age, because we feel now what the age 4 will learn. But certainly it is such a joyous when I see them reading the books, the coding books, and they are making the apps, that small one with the beads and with the hoops and all that, and with this custard apple seeds, they make it. And then they learn the coding, they really enjoy. And even parents see that when we call for the culmination activity, they come and they see they really enjoy. So that leads them to a career path. You never know, a child may, have some kind of a dream. And if you give this kind of an opening, this kind of arena opened up, they may dream big and then they may reach out to what they are thinking. So that is, like kind of you are nurturing a child to explore more and more, and there is a lot more to learn. So that's what I feel, it gives a career mapping also.
Absolutely. So, you've talked so much about the teachers, parents, and the students, how, you have brought about a very collaborative, a tech-driven classroom. And at the same time, keeping in mind very normal things. Right now, also, you just talked about the custard apple seeds, things which are easily available. These give a lot of encouragement, I'm sure, to educators that yes, we can do it with simple things which are around us. You don't need many things, yes. So what are your views? I mean, how would you involve the community, to be supportive in a very tech-driven classroom? How would you do that?
So for the community-driven class, what we can do, we can actually have a focus group where we can invite them, and they can also do a tie-up with them. Like, in our sister concern, in the 12th grade and the 10th grade, right from the 9th grade, they go for such kind of, like we have a tie-ups with the companies and with the institutions, where they get this opportunity to actually perform live, So they get that kind of, that kind of exposure, where actually what they have learned, what they have done in till grade 8 or till grade 9, or maybe in grade 11, they explore more and more by visiting the company, and they get kind of an internship. So that is the way we have planned for, our sister concern, they are doing it. So we also look forward to that maybe we can tie up with the business communities. We can have a focus group, give them the understanding why we want to do a tie-up, what are the reasons and what are the benefits. So our students get the exposure, and that is the way they get some certification also, which can help them in their academic credits, where if they go for the other, for their career also, they get this kind of benefit, and then they have that vision. So if they are self-driven, see how much you tell your learners, but I always feel it's your own battle and you have to fight it out.
Yes.
You can guide them, mentor them. At times, teachers will not be available. At times, parents will not be there. Whatever you have picked up from your school years, and whatever you have done from your heart, and what you have understood and internalized it, then it will show, because you will do from your heart, and it's your battle. You have to fight it out, and they will do that. They will explore more. They will go much ahead. And that is the way these tie-ups, these business communities will help us out, because they have given them that kind of exposure to have practical understanding of it. So whatever I have learned in my AI, my coding, my machine learning, my this augmented reality, what I have learned, I am putting it into practice. And if I am putting it into practice, I learn more. There are so many apps available. There are so many games available. There are so many kind of free versions which they can learn. And there are a couple of professional, tutorials which they actually, we guide them, and the school from their side, if all the students collectively join that particular course, it can give them a boost to understand that well. And that is the way we can implement in our curriculum.
Absolutely right. So, even as you talked about the certificates, when they get certificates and they get these kind of opportunities, then the entire community also understands how driven, say, a particular school is, a particular leader is in getting their students to that level of getting that working knowledge also, and to participate for the benefit of the community. So, Dr. Sabina, thank you for sharing your valuable insights. And your passion for empowering educators and students is truly inspiring. And hearing you talk, all of us, I'm sure, would be inspired to go and take it ahead to our classrooms.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks for giving me the opportunity. Thank you to Omotech, and thank you to the entire team of the Omotech for this wonderful show. And wish you all the best for the upcoming shows. And certainly this is a good opportunity. If you go back and if you see what we have discussed, certainly it's a pleasure to understand and visualize all that what we have discussed now.
Absolutely. So as you rightly said, collaboration is the key. So even at Omotech, we believe in empowering our educators and students to explore the vast potential of STEM and technology in education. So thank you, Dr. Sabina. Thank you to all our listeners for tuning into Tech Talks. Don't forget to subscribe for more thought-provoking discussions at the intersection of education and technology. Until next time, keep innovating and inspiring.
Thank you so much. Thank you.